Hello. Uh, so this is one of those instances where I am steering the ship. Christian will probably be around. It's just he felt it was in his own best interest to defer the hosting responsibilities to me this time around. Man, I am a little disconcerted by my NHL team to this point, to say the least. Primarily the fact that Ivan Fedotov is not really a capable backup, as well as the fact that our defensive core is highly suspect. We have difficulty down the middle outside of Jet Luchenko, ironically. But yeah. It's certainly been a time, um, that's for sure. But at least I can still continuously be entertained by Dev League highlights. Uh, and in fact, while I wait for some accompaniment here, I will start rattling off the headlines that were in the recent week. Yeah, let me go to my bookmarks. It's a little log jammed right now with various different things, primarily regarding my side endeavor, wherein I have become very entrenched in Philadelphia hockey's sort of off the beaten path media realm, you could say. Let's see, the first headline for this week that I wanted to go over. So, in a sort of preemptive manner, the Muskegon Lumberjacks of the USHL had announced that Ivan Ryabkin of the Dynamo Moscow pipeline was joining their organization. However, this was pretty much put to bed, at least in the most immediate sense, by Dynamo's professional director of sport, I believe. Yes, that's his title. There we go. Hold on. What's this? So with regards to Ryabkin, his current status is is that he is playing in the VHL for Dynamo and remaining in their pipeline for the time being. I had the stats for his first game prepared. I also want to give a quick shout out to Hockey News Hub for having the jump on that interview with an important Dynamo Moscow executive that shed some light on that topic. Ivan Ryabkin dressed today as the 13th forward in the VHL. His stats were 1 shot on goal, 2 penalty minutes, and 1 hit over 13 shifts, accounting for 10 minutes and 32 seconds time on ice. Here we go. Oh man. Yeah, I just saw that meme in the group me. Shout out to that. Yeah, apologies. Like basically, when I got hit with that initial decline, there was a second join attempt that was trying to process and bring you on sooner, but it just like completely shit the bed for no apparent reason. So that was basically what happened there.
No worries, I know the struggle all too well.
Now I'm trying to bring Damien on, and the function isn't working. So okay, here we go. Yes. Woo-hoo! The interface didn't suck for half a second.
Woo!
All right, let's see. No, getting a little bit of a buffer with him, but Muskegon, however, did announce a trade with the Sioux Falls Stampede in that same statement that we can confirm as legitimate. The essentials with oh no, that didn't happen. It almost did. There we go. Let's see this time. It could very well happen that Ryabkin does eventually come to the USHL. However, he needs to go through a proper contract termination process, which is something that takes a considerable amount of time and requires a fair amount of advance notice, from what I understand. Uh, yeah, Damien, I'm working on it. I don't know. It just keeps rejecting every time that I make an attempt. Let's see. Oh boy. Let's see. One more time. All right. Yeah, it says adding. Now, will this actually finalize this time?
It's always Damien.
Yeah, although we had an unusual amount of resistance on your end as well, so it was very two-pronged this time around.
That is true.
Um, man, what the fuck? Hold on. Okay, let me see.
I am in the arms of an angel.
Now it says he declined, though I'm sure he didn't actually intend to do so or anything of the sort. Uh,
Yeah, the Damien Bergeron Classic.
anyway, the screws and bolts of that. Let's get down to the brass tacks of the USHL transaction that actually did occur involving the Muskegon Lumberjacks. The Stampede announced they have acquired forward Jake Morenz from the Muskegon Lumberjacks. The Stampede received Ohio State commit and a fifth round USHL Phase 1 draft pick from the Lumberjacks in exchange for a, let's see, fourth round 2025 USHL Phase 1 pick and a seventh round 2025 USHL Phase 2 pick. Let's see. Um, in the 2023-24 season, Morenz played 53 games for the Janesville Jets of the NOL. He tallied 37 points on 20 goals and 17 assists. The 2006 born player played 7 games for the Lumberjacks in the 2023-24 season and has played 2 games for Muskegon this season. Morenz and the Stampede will hit the ice. Okay, let's see if this will actually work this time. Yeah, he's using his music profile, so to speak, which we did have success with last time. So maybe we'll get lucky with that workaround again. Oh boy. It says adding. Morenz and the Stampede will hit the ice this Friday to take on the Tri-City Storm for the first game of a home doubleheader. The Premier Center will transform into the Wizarding World for the night, thanks to Grand Prix. On Saturday, the Herd will host their annual trick-or-treat night, thanks to Dental Solutions. Good old USHL promotion. Still not as good as the Victoria Royals and their board ad for the Prince of Wales Sea Life Watching Agency, however. But let's see. Connection failed. Yeah, that sounds about right. Literally no idea. Man, let's see. What was my next up? Let's see. Yes, here we go. So on the 16th, it was the London Knights of the Ontario Hockey League announced their 53rd captain in team history in the former Philadelphia Flyers prospect Denver Barkey. Of course, that first outing wearing the C didn't go as prepared as he would have liked, and would have preferred, as the Knights fell 5-1 in a rivalry matchup with the Saginaw Spirit, which of course reached its heights in the Memorial Cup final last year. However, the next game after that was a 3-1 victory over the Erie Otters, in which new goaltender Austin Elliott, who took an interesting path, having been placed on WHL waivers initially by the Saskatoon Blades, then went unclaimed on WHL waivers, and then went to CHL waivers before initially being claimed by the Barrie Colts before the London Knights successfully traded for him. Terrific performance by him with his 30 of 31 saves in that performance, which earned him the second star. Let's see. Ethan Cowan recorded both a goal in that game as well as an assisted game against Saginaw. That extends his regular season point streak to 41 games over the last two seasons, which continues his pursuit of Doug Gilmour's all-time OHL record, which stands at, I believe it's 52. Interestingly, as was pointed out on the broadcast for the Saginaw game, if Cowan holds on and ties the record, his chance to break it will come in Gilmour's hometown of Kingston, Ontario, in a game against the Frontenac. So that would be pretty cool. Let's see, but moving on to the next one, the Iowa Heartlanders of the ECHL announced Yuki Miura as their new captain a few days ago. This makes him the first Japanese-born player to captain an ECHL team ever. So that was a pretty cool headline. Next up, there was some more investigative reporting from Rick Westhead on off-ice matters in the CHL, particularly the OHL. This is what Rick had for us. The Ontario Provincial Police has acknowledged that one of its employees did not follow the organization's policy when an alleged victim of a sexual assault called a local detachment earlier this year to report an incident involving 8 former junior hockey players. The woman, we are referring to her by her middle name, Anne-Marie, with her permission, says she was 22 when she was raped by 8 OHL players in November 2014. She says the players involved in her alleged sexual assault ranged in age from 16 to 19. A 19-year-old player invited Anne-Marie to watch TV with him and a teammate at his billet home, but when she arrived, she discovered 8 players in the basement. Anne-Marie, quote, I was taken into the bathroom, and that's when this player who invited me over started sexual acts. They never closed the bathroom door fully, and then next thing I know, more players start coming in. There's players standing and watching. They start taking their turns doing whatever it is they want. She did not report the incident to police until this year. Anne-Marie, quote, I never told anyone because I thought it was my fault. I thought I was the one that was responsible because I had made the choice to go hang out with this guy and a buddy. I did what I could to just forget it, not think about it, wipe it away, but it just built up inside my brain. The OHL released an official statement on this matter via their official communications, and broadcasted those out through platforms such as Twitter. This with regards to the CTV report, the OHL stated the Ontario Hockey League is aware of a CTV report of a sexual assault alleged to have been committed by OHL players in November 2014. The OHL first learned of these allegations on Wednesday and had no previous knowledge of the alleged event. The league takes allegations of this nature very seriously and will cooperate with any corresponding police investigation. The OHL recognizes the courage required for victims of sexual assault to come forward with their experiences and would always desire to see justice served and perpetrators held to account. For nearly a decade, the OHL has educated its players and staff on their responsibility to demonstrate respect for women through the OHL Onside program. The annual mandatory workshop is facilitated locally to OHL clubs by educators from the Ontario Coalition of Rape Crisis Centers and promotes the importance of respectful relationships between young men and women in their communities. So, without making any assertions of guilt or responsibility, I will state that amongst everything else that's been going on for the OHL, that is definitely not a great headline for them to have to confront. If justice it needs to be served here, hopefully that comes about. Again, we always state, this is we are very aware of cultural issues of the sport, and if this was a manifestation of that, hopefully things proceed the way that they should. Let's see, what else have we got? Something hopefully a little less heavy than that. So I guess this will be the last one for this week. Yaroslav Askarov has been putting in some pretty solid performances with the Barracuda. The AHL itself acknowledged that Askarov stays perfect in the 2024-25 season with back-to-back shutouts totaling 48 saves in official correspondence that was put out on their social media pages just last night. While he is on a bit of a slow climb after not having directly made the NHL roster, his AHL tenure seems to be off to a good start in this new environment. So I thought that was pretty cool. That's I think that's a good positive note to leave off on for this week's Dev Blog.
Oh, yeah.
And for a score update in the OHL, the Oshawa Generals are up 3-0 on the Saginaw Spirit into the second period. Earlier, Colby Barlow scored his first goal in his new uniform for Oshawa on a 5-on-3 power play. It was looked at for goaltender interference, but it ultimately stood. So that was a nice moment for the Winnipeg Jets prospect as he was looking, pretty strongly to get that monkey off his back. He already had his first point, but that first goal was a little bit more elusive.
Oh, yeah. Fuck. Fighting from a fucking life down here in the bottom corner of the screen.
Yeah.
It's been a while.
Yeah, it's kind of like teams playing against the Winnipeg Jets. You know, the Sharks Friday night, the Penguins today. Man, Morrissey and Pionk are having such a crazy output season, which, I mean, Morrissey had, 69 points, I think, last year. But, to have, two defenders in, the top four in points already this early with Morrissey with 7 and Pionk with 6. Winnipeg is getting so much offense already from their back end. And when you look at, Nicholas Ehlers, who just continues to shine, Kyle Connor, phenomenal. I still can't believe anybody's ever said that Kyle Connor is not a good hockey player because that's just such a crack-ass take. But, even Nemesnikov, 4-point night against San Jose. Like tonight, I think he had another. Or today, had a couple of points. So just again, I mean, for them, they're firing all cylinders. It was great to see Eric Comrie get debut, make his season debut with the Jets. He looked really good, I thought. And again, I mean, going to Christian's early preseason pick of Hellebuck. I mean, come on, dude. Over a 9.5 save with like a 1.25 GAA. Like, the guy's absolutely playing out of his mind. I'm like, dude, it's crazy, man. Winnipeg is looking dangerous.
Yeah, so
You know,
what Charlie O'Connor had to say to the brass tacks. His verbatim quote was, I think that Kyle Connor is the player who is objectively good that I enjoy watching the least in the NHL because he's very much just a guy who's all offense and his particular objective is to score goals at the sacrifice of so many other, pretty much every other dimension to his game, and it works for him. And then he cited those, the shot differential, like RAPM type stuff, and how much better Winnipeg is in that regard than with him off the ice than with him on. It's like, yeah, it's called playing like a high risk, high reward style because like he does take a lot of shots, but he's ridiculously efficient in doing so. Like he's not fucking Cutter Gauthier. Like, and plus like I don't get this whole thing. Like we love role players as these like knuckle dragging hockey fans, but why can't goal scoring be a role? Like that's how the Soviets treated that end of topic, and they had plenty of success doing it, and so have many other teams who've used their model.
Yeah, no.
you know, speaking of a guy who fits all of those descriptors, and because he's already been brought up, this is the point in the year as a big Neil Pionk enjoyer. This is the point in the year where people start to think he's a good defenseman. And don't worry, by the time the playoffs start, we'll remember that Neil Pionk is basically a Kyle Connor type defender, but without the efficiency. Like that, bro. I love Neil Pionk. He is not. He is not Philip Ronick. He's not a guy who is going to sustain this kind of value for Winnipeg probably past the month of November. But hey man, it's fun to watch. It's fun to watch him. It's kind of like the games where N'Keal Harry would be good for the Patriots for like 3 or 4 games every year, and then like he just kind of become a background character. Like Neil Pionk is that guy.
With their respective peaking in August, I feel like, not August. That was a cheap shot that I've been making at Adam Bannock recently a lot in one of my group chats. But with their consistent peaking in October, a team that featured Jack Hughes, Travis Konechny, and Neil Pionk would be so fucking phenomenal in the first month of the season that somehow they would win the Stanley Cup right then and there.
I mean,
transcendent.
I mean, Cole Perfetti's looked good too for him, but another guy who's been like great, who I wasn't expecting to have as much of the offensive output already is Nico Hischier, where like he's already had 5 goals and he's been just phenomenal in every facet of the game. I mean, the other day he took a puck to the face. It's like with his head injury history too. It's like, but I mean, guy came out second period, he's just been awesome. It's been great to see them, and I mean, obviously Washington did beat them in OT 6-5 the other night, and I mean Washington's another team that's just like, again, you beat Dallas, and it's like Dallas has just been so dominant. I mean, Oettinger has like a 9.53 save, even though DeSmith, I believe, played that game. Which DeSmith looked good too, but it's like Washington squeaking these games out, just crazy.
I love how in that tangent, the Hischier's playing real well, and the 2 things we highlighted was 5 goals in 8 games and taking a puck to the head. Like, bro's got taking puck to the head in his Damien Bergeron highlight reel.
Well, I'm just saying, dude, like defensively, I'm saying in every part, he plays great defensively. And when we've looked at Nico over the last several seasons, we've seen the defensive game to him, but we haven't necessarily seen him really catch that stride. I mean, we've already talked about that draft class. We've already talked about expectations. And I mean, he's been a great two-way forward, but this season already seeing him be on the stat sheet. When you're looking at Jack Hughes, Jack Hughes has what, like I want to say 1 or 2 goals on the season. So like Nico's kind of like this year stepped into that goal scoring role early for them, but he's still doing everything else well.
Yee. Like taking pucks to the head. Jack Hughes hasn't done that yet.
Bro, it's a defensive play, kid. You got to get in front of him and block them shots.
Yeah, it's the Andrew Castles special.
I mean, I think a lot of his were in his own zone, in the offensive zone, not in his defensive zone, blocking shots.
Which tells you a lot about Andrew Castles, because, he was a defensive warrior. When he blocked pucks with his head, they'd go into the opposing net because he is the Scott Steiner of Hartford Whalers.
That's awesome.
Oh yeah, so Beckett Seneca has 2 primary assists, so that was pretty cool.
That is pretty cool.
His he definitely needs the bump because he entered this game with like half a PPG on the season, which is not really the productivity you're looking for early in your D+1. He gets some leeway because of the injury setback, but like that also is like a detriment to his depth curve as is.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
And the other thing I've seen a lot of, and it's already annoying the shit out of me, is the Lane Hudson hate about people making fun of his fucking head bobs. And I'm like,
I mean, that's
dude,
just because Brady Kachuk's a pussy.
No, it's not even just. I mean, that was ridiculous in the whole thing because I'm like, bro, you're getting smoked, guy. Like, your team's getting fucking absolutely shit kicked in, and you're like, you still have the time to try to make fun of a kid who's making you look like a fucking peewee player. Like, come on, guy. Like, but it's dumb. It's like, oh, hey, there's this talented kid who's coming to the league, and I get it, dude. It's Montreal. I mean, the hatred's not as much as Toronto, but a lot of teams aren't crazy about Montreal. But it's just like, can we just appreciate these young kids? And okay, hey, yeah, okay, maybe they can't do this, but like, just calm down, guys. Like, it's early, man. Like,
Wait,
what's up?
what were we going to hold Lane Hudson accountable for doing or not doing?
No, it's just the fucking gatekeepers with the fucking shit posting. It's like the kid's played well. He's got 4 points, and not to throw shade at some other rookies that have had a little bit more of expectations, but like he's tied with what Michkov in second for points. I mean, Stankoven has 7, I want to say, but
I mean, that's fair. I mean, I was going to say the
Stankoven
thing
has
with
7.
Hudson's offensive efficiency hasn't even been that good, but his DPS on the year is already about a 1. So he's 5 times more valuable defensively to the Canadians than he is in the offensive zone through his very small sample size, which is more, important, I think, in the long run. Like, his 6 assists or whatever, some of it's sheltered minutes, some of it's power play, but, like, the fact that he's already efficiently defending, like, yeah, he's not a premier defender, but he's efficiently defending already for this team is, you look at a guy like Moritz Seider, who's in year, 4, and has everybody sucking his cock in the media, and he still isn't efficiently defending anything. Like, to see some early promise from Hudson with the efficient defense is really the one thing that I'm more
It's
attentive
conditioning too.
to.
What wasn't he eating a ton of ice time the other night too because of injuries?
Yes. He had over 30 TOI. It was like, and a good chunk of that was like over 20 minutes of it was 5v5.
Yeah, and that's a lot to ask for a rookie defenseman at the beginning of the season.
They really like have been reliant upon that defensive step up as well because like you look at the majority of their blue line core, they're getting fucking destroyed in the expected goals against category. The majority of them, and he's one of the few that's like actually looking pretty decent there. Like really the only one by like a significant margin, honestly.
You know, it's good. It's good for the Habs, you know. He's not going to win the Calder, but, you know, he's going to deal with the internet bullshit. But, like, Homeboy's going to be, it's going to be real good. And if Reinbacher can figure his shit out, Montreal might not be a complete joke for the next. Oh, wait, yeah, they will. Nevertheless, I forgot about the Mark. Wait, no, Bergevin's not there anymore. Maybe there's a chance. I'm sorry, my brain is
I
scrambled.
I assume you meant Bergevin as well.
Yeah,
Yeah, no, he's committing terrorism on the Los Angeles Kings organization instead.
yeah.
As much of a terrorist as an executive as he was a defenseman.
You know, it's crazy when I look at LA. Like, Kopitar has been fucking unbelievable so far this year. Brant Clark has been the player that I thought he was going to be last year. But, you know, the problem with Brant Clark, to mirror what I was just saying about Lane Hudson, the concerning point with Brant Clark so far, and it's nothing to even really, like, talk shit about, is just he is seeing such sheltered deployments, which is fine and fair as he's the only offensively competent defenseman on the Kings roster. But, like, you know, you look at a guy who in 5-on-5, like Lane Hudson seeing a 49% OZS rate versus Brant Clark's 68.2%. Like, those sheltered minutes for him are eventually going to lead him to probably being very hated in Los Angeles. Is he's just going to get the Sean Dursey treatment of a guy who can't quote unquote play defense. But hey, what do I know? I'm just a hater. Oh no, we're gonna play James Reimer tonight potentially. Fuck.
Oh, well, you got to let Dostal, get some rest, guy. He can't be facing
No,
40 plus shots every night.
I mean John Gibson will come back eventually, and you know that, my friend, is when Dostal can take a rest.
Oh
I
man.
mean, unless James Reimer goes full Deshaun Watson and gets what he fucking deserves tonight, I don't want to see him.
Oh man, it was so nice to see Nick Chubb score a tutty on his debut back, man. You love to see it.
Yeah.
But also kudos to Tyler Toffoli, guys. 6 points. He's already got 4 goals. But yeah, they are who we thought they were. But
Yeah.
they did. But they did score 3 goals on Hellebuck, which is fucking insane, considering that he played 3 games prior and only gave up 2 goals. So I'm like,
Yeah, man.
kudos.
Tyler Toffoli's out here living his best life, you know. Might win 25 games this year. Might score, you know, he's doing the Eric Carlson thing with
Yeah,
the
he is.
Sharks. Like, he's just going to score a bunch of points. He's going to get paid a bunch of money, and, you know, 20 years from now, 10 years from now, a bunch of kids who are 15 right now are going to sit around on a podcast and reminisce about Tyler Toffoli the same way we do about Glenn Murray. And I love that for him.
Yeah, man, I am curious about one thing now.
About what?
No, give me like 2 seconds. It's gonna be longer than 2 seconds, but
Filler Michael Misa just got one back for Saginaw, so he's now up to 14 goals and 20 points in 10 games in his DY. really gunning to take the throne back from James Higgins, apparently. Although Higgins is looking to have the exact same chemistry with Gabe Peralta as he was anticipated to have, so there is that.
Peralta's gonna be really,
Backcourt for that.
it's gonna be really good for New
Yep.
York.
Yeah, so no, I was like so curious. And like, oh, the first thing that came to mind when you compared him to Glenn Murray, like you didn't compare him to Glenn Murray, but you're just saying the example. Similarity scores, and even though Glenn Murray's obviously not off the similarity scores, the next guy up right now is Mark Savard, and I think that's pretty appropriate and relevant.
Yeah. Mark Savard.
Because like when you talk to Bruins fans, like Mark Savard is probably like the third or fourth dude out of their mouths when they talk about like, you know who was really good but injuries just completely cut his career short. And like, yeah, it was Cookie, that little menace to society.
You know, I was expecting something else there, and I don't know why. I thought you were gonna refer to Gord Kluzak as the Bruins guy who injuries, cut it. You know, why is it every Bruins player? You know, I think you're on to something, Damien, with the Bruins. Because when I think about the Bruins, with the exception of Ray Bork, since 1970, man, everything out of every Bruins fan's mouth is if it wasn't for injuries, Bobby Orr, Gord Kluzak, Cam Neely, Mark Savard. It's always been that thing. And, finally they get a guy in Patrice Bergeron after all their sacrifices who finally has a long career despite injuries.
The ironic thing is that I feel like there were sacrifices along the way, because one thing I've always thought about, like, did it give Nathan Horton his best career highlights to land in that franchise? Yeah, but it probably also shortened his career by a number of years.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's also so crazy with Nathan Horton just feels like, his NHL career just kind of reminds me of the main character from Watership Down, where like in his NHL career, he's just always followed by the Black Rabbit of Death. Like I think about how he was like, I think on the ice or on the bench when Jokinen got dumped and almost killed Richard Zednik. And then like all of that culminated for Nate Horton in that game against, Vancouver and then the stuff like he was just trying to lead the Rabbits to a better borough, man.
Didn't he
And
score the game where
he won the cup.
like, I'm pretty sure, like, the way that the Rich Peverley thing played out was Horton registered a goal in that game in its initial thing, but then when Peverley basically had his heart give out and lived to tell the tale, and they restarted it, Horton wasn't dressed because of injuries that ultimately ended his career, so Horton was credited with a goal that he technically didn't play in. Like, I think the fact that that's the final chapter is that his ex-teammate that he won a cup with basically died on the bench in a game that he scored what was effectively a phantom goal is very, very appropriate. Like, that's like the perfect final chapter.
Some days I cook a little bit too hard.
Yeah, let's see. During the first period of a March 10, 2014 game against the Dallas Stars, Horton scored a goal to put the Blue Jackets ahead 1-0. Shortly thereafter, Dallas center and Horton's former Bruins teammate Rich Beverly collapsed on the bench. Play was suspended, and on April 9, 2014, the game restarted from the beginning with the Blue Jackets leading 1-0. Horton was unavailable for the restarted game due to an injury, but his goal from the original game was still recorded in official statistics, making him the only known NHL player to have scored a goal in a game that in which he did not play. Fucking amazing, dude.
That's crazy. I
Man.
mean, I think. No, never mind.
And that was when, like, he was also limited to just 36 games that year because he missed, like, a huge chunk of it due to having off-season shoulder surgery as well. So it's like, what a sequence of events.
Yeah. No, I'm just thinking about my toxic dumbass and being like, well, I'm pretty sure, Martesa Louise's mom, won a series and she didn't play in any of them, but that's that's in the past now.
Man.
It's toxic gaming who was bent as fuck that season.
Saw your mommy and you know the rest.
Uh,
John Gibson's favorite song. So how about that friggin' Minnesota State upset of North Dakota, huh?
Ah, yeah.
20th bumping off the 5th. Pretty sick. And they won pretty convincingly as well. That was pretty awesome. Like a great early season, just total disruptor. I have to say though, as far as the UND Fighting Hawks are concerned, like I'm a little bit disappointed by how Max Swanson's season is going so far. This kid literally just came off consecutive seasons in the freaking USHL in which he scored a combined freaking over the last 2 years, fucking 132 points in fucking, let's see, 112 games in just the regular season, and then freaking 27 and 21 over the combined two playoff runs. And took both fucking regular season and playoffs MVP this past year, and he's sitting at fucking 0 points and a -1 over UND's first 3 games. I'm like, damn, maybe they were right to have him be a 7th overall pick. Maybe it wasn't his height. Maybe he's just a fraud. I mean, you look at Zeev Boyum, like, let me take a look. I don't think this has changed. I could be mistaken. Let's see. Okay, so he has one more assist, but like 4 of his 5 points came on fucking power play assists in one game against fucking Alaska Anchorage. So his D+1 isn't exactly going swimmingly either.
Yeah. Urban in yeah.
He was always kind
God.
of like, I'm not going to say overrated, but I feel like it was valid for there to be like kind of questions around how sustainable his run was going to be because like the thing is with these guys, you to have really really high expectations for these dudes, you kind of had to look back and have seen them dominate their age groups or even punching above their weight for years and years and years before like, or at least to have a really good track record there. Like, guys can be really star prospects without being generational in that respect. But the thing is, like, you look at Boyum's performances prior to his DUI, like year in and year out, he was relatively underwhelming. Like, he just had like a massive surge in productivity as well as a good international track record going for him in his DUI, which kind of really got him so coveted. So I'm not really surprised by things going this way so far.
Yeah, I still think he's going to turn out to probably be a decent bottom four defenseman in the league.
Yeah, but the aspirations of like future 1D were always overblown. Like, I, I'm just like,
Though it's good for the Minnesota Wild. It's karma. Brock Faber should never have been a number 1D and somehow is a number 1D. So, Zeev Boyum missing the mark after them hitting a fucking grand slam on Brock Faber just is kind of, Minnesota mediocrity taking its cut.
We can't even call it missing the mark though, because he was always like throughout his DY, he was just vastly overrated. Like based off
Yeah,
of it, like not in a vacuum as a player, but like his the aspirations that they had for him, and that how the scouting community treated him was like vastly overstating the sort of player that he is and will probably be. Like,
I
and it makes
mean,
sense
yeah.
because that crop for like those few years in the USNTDP, they're not great. Like they think very highly of themselves, and the drum gets beaten for them a lot, but they're really not all that fantastic. They're better than the current USNTDP roster. That thing is just absolute poverty. But I've never seen like a freaking just like dev class that's relatively mid and mostly consists of like middle sixers and bottom four guys in the NHL have such phenomenal PR.
It's funny to think about though. You know who has a similar, you know, a similar, not too impressive, has a pretty good draft year, gets drafted a little. This just sounds like the Eric Johnson syndrome.
Yeah.
Like it's the Eric Johnson effect of like fairly mediocre defenseman has exceptional D0 season and just happens to be a right in why Boyum's impressive with his is he's not even a right-handed defenseman. Right-handed defenseman has a coveted skill set that nobody really has, blah blah blah. Gets to the show, is moderately underwhelming, ends up being nothing more than a glorified bottom four defender. And there's nothing wrong with being a bottom four defender. But man, like if Eric Johnson didn't have the expectations of being the guy that was taken over Jordan Stahl, Phil Kessel, Jonathan Taves, and Nick Backstrom, like maybe we look at him fondly instead of, he should have been one of those four guys and he wasn't. But props to him for still being in the league.
Unfortunately,
Sometimes to your chagrin.
all the
Don't
time.
worry.
The guy is worse than fucking Mark Stahl. Like it's not by like a huge extent, but it's notable. Like his breakout capabilities are not there. And like if you're gonna be a guy who's primarily contributing by defense at this point by necessity, you have to at least be able to move the puck out of your own zone. Like there are tons of big lug DFDs in the league that can do that, and Johnson doesn't even have that as a baseline, which is one of the things that Drysdale's been inhibited the most, as I was explaining to Tim in an earlier conversation, as you probably saw.
I mean, the real question with Eric Johnson, though, is what team is going to give the Flyers a fourth or a fifth round draft pick for him in the month of March to just be a depth player? Like, we all know he's not going to be a Flyer at the end of the year. There's no way in hell he's still on that roster because of his leadership and playoff experience. And I'm right.
I hope you're right. Like
Eric Johnson is like the premier ninth D for a playoff run. And he's probably going to end up in Vegas as like the guy who's just, sweeping up the locker room. He's going to do what Phil Kessel did for the Golden Knights if he's literally just going to be locker room candy.
the only thing that gives me pause is that the personality thing is so coveted. Like it's really the only explanation as to why not only is Scott Lawton still on the team, despite the fact that he literally does not have positive effects on literally anyone's expected goal metrics. Literally every player on the team was worse while playing with Scott Lawton last year in that category. I'm not kidding. And given an A based off of his character, then someone with Eric Johnson's esteem is probably even more likely to stay. Because we had a first round pick offered for Scott Lawton. I am fairly certain, and we turned it down. So, like,
Which is Scott Lawton is like this Flyers version of Chris Neal. Like similar offense, similar defense. The only difference is Lawton fights way less dudes. He is your Chris Neal. Yeah, but Lawton's played there. Like Scott Lawton is untradeable, probably because he's played there for so fucking long, and the old whites in the Flyers org is like, he's been here for a decade. We can't trade Scott. He's a core culture guy. He's been here since the beginning.
I mean, Mark Stahl played all last year, so like,
Yeah.
it's just like we've said that like we're fucking open to receiving offers on anybody. Yet like their whole MO right now is like we don't have enough of an idea of what is on the table and who fits or who doesn't to make a move of that magnitude yet. And it's like you have more than enough sample size to realize that Lawton doesn't fit. Like he's touted and was always touted as a prospect as like a guy who could be like a two-way center on the second line probably. But the thing is that he's a guy who's where like 200-foot game is like used to excuse the fact that he's primarily an offensive guy without a lot of offensive upside, and because it's not like his defensive results are that good. Like Noah Cates absolutely blows him out of the water in the defensive metrics respect. Like if you look at like Cates, his like defensive percentiles are going to typically be in like the 90s, whereas like Lawton's you're talking more like the 30s, while focusing on scoring and not even being all that good at it.
Dude, I love clickbait. I'm scrolling, I'm looking at some line combinations in the background, and it's time to say it. Anze Kopitar is better than Patrice Bergeron is some high-quality clickbait. Mainly because the only person who'd have to read that article is Bruins fans, because they're the only people on planet Earth who don't fucking know that. Speaking of, good defensive players.
Beckett Seneca scored a goal before shortly before the second period ended, so he now has a 3-point night. Colby Barlow had a primary assist on that one. That was pretty nice.
Dude, I can't wait for Beckett Seneca to play on a line with Ryan Strome in like 2 years. Just living down on line 3 for the rest of his life. The new Jakob Silfverberg.
Barlowed off his shoulders. Ugh, that is a bad pun.
Seneca turns out to not be to not be just another Anaheim weird middle six player. Honestly, my copium has gotten to the level of if Beckett Seneca is at least better than Max Jones, I can live with it. That's my only expectation for him anymore. And it's a real low fucking bar since I don't think the Bruins have played Jones since opening night. After signing him to a 2-year one-way deal. Classic Don Sweeney signing Ducks rejects for some weird fucking reason, thinking, like, I'm all for the I can fix a player mentality. Like, we've seen the Ristolainen resurrection in Philly. We've seen all kinds of things. The Boston Bruins and their bizarre, Don Sweeney's bizarre, like, kink for trying to reclaim fucking Ducks prospects and just watching it blow up in his fucking face time and time and time and time again lately. Like, they tried it with Richie. They tried it with Kasha. They're trying it with Jones. They've tried it with, fuck.
Bolesky.
Bolesky was already 29 years old, though. Yeah. There's one more, and it didn't even last. Fuck. It's not gonna come to me, but this is like the fifth time that Sweeney's gone to this well, and it just hasn't worked. And it like Madness is doing the same thing. Like if these dudes couldn't make it fucking work for the Ducks with unlimited ice time and sheltered minutes, what the fuck do you think they're gonna do for you?
Yeah. I mean, I think sometimes too with
Vinny
Boston, I think when you look at,
Lettieri. Vinny Lettieri is the one I was thinking
oh
of.
yeah. Well, I mean, with Boston, I think if it's like a position of strength, because I think every team, as far as like coaching and stuff, you can develop or you can coach a position. Like obviously Boston, it's been goaltending. But the thing is, it's like obviously again, like forwards, not really their strong suit. So it's like, and again, I mean, with Anaheim, we've seen some good forwards. We've seen, again, I look at like Emerson Edom, who again, I'm not saying he was great. I'm not saying he was great, but like Emerson, I thought Edom was all right. I thought DSP was all right. They played with some other teams. They had some success.
Well,
And I mean, it's
DSP
a,
did,
I
Edom
mean,
did not.
yeah. Like, I mean, honestly, again, I could, Ricardo Kell, he's been solid since, obviously Pedersen defender, a little different, but still, like, with Boston, it's like if you're going out on a team and trying to get a bunch of young forwards where, like, you guys have been not great at developing forwards, it's kind of weird. If it's goaltending or defense, I kind of get it because it's like, oh, yeah, like, hey, you have the coaching staff and the developmental, like, just staff to do that. So
I just don't get, like,
peculiar.
the Bruins should know by now. It's Toronto's trash bin that they need to keep pulling dudes out of. Like, Justin Brazeau, phenomenal.
Yeah.
Just keep taking guys out of Toronto's trash heap. Leave Anaheim, like, taking guys out of good teams' discard pile, i.e., Florida with Carter Verhaeghe. Like, take from good teams' discard pile. Why are you taking from the discard pile of bad teams and expecting it to fucking make you better? Like,
It's funny because like I was looking at Providence's lines earlier, and Lettieri's on line one, and I genuinely thought that it was Boston's roster for a second because like they might as well fuck around with some shit like that because like their top nine has been fucking terrible. And like when your fucking fourth line is the only one that's consistently getting things going and you're leaning on them for productivity, you're in fucking trouble. It's endemic to just how questionable the choices they are, the choices they made with who they picked up and acquired. Like it's just so bad. It doesn't help that Marchand was basically a corpse last year, and now he's recovering from the operations he had to have done. But like they just they built their roster in such a shit way, as you have kind of come to expect from them.
well, I think that's going to move us closer to our big finish this week. Two quick thoughts that are not hockey related. One, I will not be around for the next 2 Sundays, so that's a thing. And also, I like Damien with the hat on, preventing us from seeing that he's in full Austin Matthews mode.
A little bit. I don't have the
Take a
weight
look at
of Toronto on me though. It's just Home Depot.
Yeah. So in good news, there is quite a slate of Flyers games on tap, so you'll probably still hear me in some respects. For one thing that is for certain, we are taking on the Canadiens at 7 o'clock. Uh, so you'll most likely continue to hear me at least for 1 week on Twitter Spaces. We are attempting to do those every game if possible, as long as there's no sort of conflict. And even then, despite the fact that three of our regulars attended the home opener last night, we did do a post-game congregation, and we might be doing things in between games as well. So you'll still be hearing me in sort of pseudo podcast format to give you something that's sort of Black Stitch hockey adjacent the next couple of weeks. So there should be a good slate of audio content still. Yeah. Let's roll it in to our big finish. So with me as the leadoff batter as usual, my take on this week is that if Tortorella is willing to make a statement as our head coach by with the inadequacy of Sean Couturier's play, which is reasonable because I mean his results have definitely not been up to snuff. We saw pretty quickly, even like having him be like the Mitchkov partner at center didn't work. And have him dressed as the fourth line left wing in his 800 NHL game, which was also a season opener, and only have him take the first shift for basically ceremonial purposes. At what point does Tippett end up being either a bottom sixer for at least a couple of games to send a message as to the fact that he's been a detriment to the team, if not be healthy scratched outright? I understand that part of his aggressiveness and his shot attempts have been the fact that his first goal has eluded him to this point. But the thing is that this is always the player that he's been, even since having taken a step forward to the point where he can put up like 25 goals a year. If you're taking more shot attempts than Austin Matthews and like not scoring and not ever even cracking like 30 goals in a season, then this is all that he's going to be. He had to overcome a lot just to become who he is now. So he's not going to get better by continuously pumping out volume shots. So like, I think the fact that Torts continues to give him the green light on this, even when it's been a detriment to the team, because shot attempts often result in chances going the other way, and it's not like he has the efficiency to make up for those high risk plays. And he's just not producing results. Then at what point do you hold him to the same standard that you're already holding other guys to on long-term contracts, such as Coots, who have been around longer than him and done more for the franchise? I really think Tortorella's obsession with him and Konechny to a slightly lesser extent has gotten out of hand. But I really want Tippett to either be down on line 3, if not line 4, for like at least a couple of games, if not taken out of the lineup for it, because he is becoming an anchor to the team.
Yeah.
Oh, there's a Trapped song about that. Gonna play Anchor by Trapped for Owen Tippett. That's his new walk-up song if this was baseball, sorry.
Hold on. We got to make it Anchor by Cave-In, so at least we're promoting, one, a band from our hometown, and two, a band that's not so entrenched in the Proud Boy scene.
That is true, but the problem with Cave-In song is it leads to expectations.
Good point.
With Trapped, once you hear that first Chris Taylor Brown vocal, you know you don't want to see what's going to happen next.
Awesome. Yeah, so it's kind of funny because honestly, leads to Coach I love, and he made a couple of decisions today going into the game, and I'm honestly proud of him. I'm not going to talk about the team on the whole as far as stop giving up fucking grade A's, but Mike Sullivan, I love it. Tristan Jarry, again, it's a weird situation. I'm proud of Sullivan for coming out saying he's the third string goalie. Nettie got the start today. I thought Nettie, even though he gave up five goals, I thought he still looked pretty good. But the other thing is he also made the very interesting decision of scratching Michael Bunting, which I thought was a very interesting choice. But for Mike Sullivan, it's very different and off the cuff for him because typically he doesn't like – he has in recent years he hasn't really changed too much, and he would never really scratch the top 6. So I liked it. That was interesting, but a couple of good, early depth pieces. Kevin Hayes scored his 3rd goal of the season already. I'm happy for Kevin Hayes. Love the guy. But also seeing Lars Eller, having early season success offensively, and even Drew O'Connor scored his third, I believe, Friday night. I'm glad to see Depp scoring.
Alrighty. Some sad news and good news. I've had my big finish planned out. Big fan of the Pablo Mintyukov dev curve. You know, the biggest concern about Minty coming out of juniors was whether or not he could figure out how to play defense at this level. Credit to the Cronin regime. You know, we've had our hiccups with Luno, but again, he's only played in a handful of NHL games, so we're going to see if he can figure it out. Luckily, but also the bad news. Our boy Minchikov has food poisoning and will not play tonight against the Kings, which fucking blows. But we get to see Jackson LeCombe for the first time this year and see if he's figured it out after last year. So real exciting to see if Cronin's, Zellweger's been good this year. Real good to see if the Cronin D-core dev really keeps coming together for us. You know, excited about Minty. Looking forward to Zellweger. Hopefully, LeCombe doesn't suck tonight.
I literally cringed just now because I just saw Oshawa Generals defenseman and Toronto Maple Leafs prospect Ben Danford take a good old, that might have literally broken his jaw, high stick. It was not pretty. You know, on a topic related to the OHL, you know what this tells me is that Matthew Schaefer is either going to end up being a Philadelphia Flyer due to him missing all the year to this point due to mono, because we have a tradition of many of our elite prospects having had it, no pun intended, at least once. Or he's going to be an Anaheim Duck to start a new tradition of defensive prospects missing time in essential dev steps due to illness. So they're evidently Anaheim, just by black magic, is inserting themselves in the race there. But yeah, that just about does it for this week. Quick score update. As of right now, yeah, no, that was a bit of a rushed chance there by Misa, but that's fine because he's on the penalty kill. The score still remains 4-1 in favor of Oshawa over Saginaw. Their power play is about halfway done. If I can be bothered, I'll churn out a graphic noting the final score, important stats, and superlatives for that game later on. But yeah, so as noted, a little bit of a hiatus coming up, but you know, there's still plenty to look forward to, including basically like filler and stand-in podcasts that are going to be happening like pretty consistently in the coming times on my end. I've basically done like a week's worth of podcasting work via those Twitter spaces over the last 2 weeks. Thanks to that whole shebang, and there will be a good amount more to fill in that time, especially because we have the Philadelphia Flyers have a sort of condensed playing schedule, so that'll make up for it. And of course, there will be articles still coming out. You can expect another KHL update within the next couple of days. Some interesting stuff there. Credit to, again, as I noted on Facebook earlier, to HC Sochi getting their first win in 26 attempts, going back quite a ways against CSKA Moscow on the road, no less, earlier today. That was pretty cool. And there's always some transactional sort of stuff to talk about that I'm looking forward to writing on. And of course, I believe we can probably expect that Yegor Zavragin will be getting the start again tomorrow. So that'll be cool. Although they might dress or Pleshkov or Serebryakov due to Vidyas being a slightly weaker opponent, since apparently this 19-year-old kid has asserted himself as the 1G for Scott St. Petersburg, which is remarkable considering their aversion to playing young talent, at least within their ranks, in the top club, as we're seeing with Demidov being held to a ridiculously high standard. But yeah, thank you for tuning in. Thank you to everyone checking us out on Spotify and YouTube. Yeah, we'll see you again soon in different capacities. Take care, everybody. Have a great night.